Shalom. Assalamu alaikum, my friends. Hello. Today we're going to discuss cannabis, marijuana, drug use, all sorts of kinds of things that play in the human being consciousness that creates what we know of as our society, or let's use it in the biblical and the word of God, how he describes it, is the assembly of the people. Okay, so first thing, I hear all sorts of kinds of things. So, instance, let's listen to someone's opinion of it, and then I want to interject into it. All right, let's listen.
I mean, pot in itself is innocuous.
It doesn't worry you that you're breaking the law?
Sure, it worries me. I mean, it worries me because I don't want to get caught. I do not want to go to jail for something that I can consider a pleasure and harmless to both society and myself. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not hurting myself. Why should I be punished for it?
And no dangers, as far as you're concerned. You're not worried about it at all.
No more than I'm worried about alcohol or the junk that doctors give housewives who are pill freaks. In fact, less, because at least with marijuana, you're not lying to yourself and saying your doctor gave you all these little things, or you're drinking alcohol and lying to yourself about what you're doing.
You know that there is a considerable...
Okay, so let's stop right there. And we hear this argument a lot. I hear it. This is the assembly. So to understand me a little bit more, I'm not a member of the assembly. I am outside of the assembly, and for my understanding of it is in this manner is, since I am belong to God and God is doing what he does with me, I am in a manner kept under the law, in the manner that I myself don't know what I'm doing. God does it. I am doing what I do, and I am basically observing in a manner that what the Spirit is moving and functioning through me. I am like an observer of it, even though I am the vessel itself. I'm just observing because I have control, but I don't have, it's God is doing it, and I even know of it. All right, so in this, I am not part of the assembly of the people, so I am sitting on the outside and I'm listening to what the assembly is saying, doing, believing, practicing, living, so on and so forth. So I'm kind of in what you would say occultation. I'm over here watching you, but you're not even aware of me. So I hear this argument, like this one lady is saying here about cannabis. Now, mind you, I have been smoking it since I was a child of the age of high school days. But I never smoked any of it as a little child growing up in kindergarten all the way through into those days. When I reach a certain age, I did it. I have done it all the way up. Once I have discovered a certain benefits of it, then I use it for that which I use it as a benefit for, which is medicinal. Now, when you're taking medicine, even from a doctor, like how she had described this doctor thing, the difference between this and with the doctor prescribing, doctors prescribe a medicine you take for a period of time. Let's say you need something, you take it for a week. Longest you take for 1 month, right? That's usually what the doctor prescriptions are about for those kinds of treatments. This, not a prescription in a manner. If you're doing drugs, you're not taking it as a medicine. If you say, oh, it helps me this in this manner or this manner, medicine is used for a fixing of a problem, for something to heal and you don't take anymore once it's healed. So as for me, I smoke because I have recently had this problem I've always had it as a kid, the slice and the filling. But when the torn muscle also took place later down my years, then it created this whole effect again. I use it in that manner as a medicine, and hopefully it heals and relaxes whatever is happening with the scar tissue, the incident itself, the whole damage of itself, right? When it is fixed, I don't smoke. I don't need medicine. It's fixed. Why would I keep taking medicine? I don't need it. Right? Remember that, because that's another thing that people are not understanding. So this girl can talk all she wants about nonsense, because that's what it is. I'll tell you flat, I don't agree with what she says at all, period. Even though a lot of people out there, when you hear what she said, oh yeah, I agree with that. And then you slowly agree, but I'm going to explain something to you that wakes you up to understand what's happening. So to understand this concept of what I'm saying, you have to go into learning about, okay, here's a child being born, the body is being made in the womb, and we will get even into the idea and the concept of abortion later in this video. First, I want to feed you some of this. So the baby in the womb, its made, heart is made, its limbs are made, fingers, toes, eyes, everything being made. Baby is born now in the world, is come into the world, it is breathing now on its own through what? Something's happening here. Involuntary muscle is in process of doing things throughout this whole incident. Remember this. Something else is in control of something else that we are not in control of. And our consciousness, we can be aware of it, and we can try to hold our breath and not breathe. But that which is giving you life is not of your own self. You can try to hold your breath, but that which is yourself of alive will keep you from not being able to not hold your breath, right? How long can you hold your breath? And then you, right? You cannot not do that, right? You understand? Because you're not in control of the very thing that actually is giving you life. People fail to remember that, okay? When they make their decisions of their laws and aspects of everything, because they think they have control, right? I do it, I feel good, makes me. What do you really control? Hold your breath. Let's see how long you can hold your breath. You can't even do that. And you're telling me you have control? Okay. Now, in also the development of this, the brain gets these neurotransmissions that create nerve pathways where we become more aware through what we are in the vessel, through extension now of sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste and hearing, right? All these create patterns in your brain. When you take drugs, you are altering these patterns. Sometimes you're skipping. So throughout the normality of your development, you've had these patterns that are been made and done. Now you're getting high and you're thinking of something that you think, oh, I'm high and now this makes me feel better. Oh, I'm thinking better, I'm clearer, this or that, I'm interacting with the world better, I'm chill, I'm calm. This is your thought process, but you're not understanding that that thought process has always been there. Because those patterns that were made in the thought process are always there in the brain. There is no way for you to go other than what you have created as your link to your reality. And every individual has their individual reality. But that link can never be severed. When you induce drugs, what you do is you bounce around. on it. And that make you feel high. Because it's not you're not normally thinking based upon the pattern lines that you have been without. Then intoxications or outside sources come, you think different. Instance, you have hormones that get released as well. For instance, when you're scared, frightened, you get these hormones that are released, adrenaline, and this creates fight, flight, all sorts of kinds of things. These thought processes have always been there, but notice now the intenseness of it, like you're high. Your brain naturally makes all of these things that you look at out on the outside. You make THC in your body. People say, oh, why do we have cannabinoid receptors in the brain? Well, because you make it. You're not aware of it. Understand? Maybe it happens in the certain incidences of life that these are released and these are there for you. But you think because your brain has it or you have it, then it needs to always be used. Well, look at your body parts. Not all body parts are used for every action, right? So, in our imagination, we can think. Now, on the outskirts, like I say, the benefits of certain things are for what these drugs actually do, and you know the outcome of what the drugs do to you. Therefore, you know the pattern of what it is. You can become excited without drugs, and you know that what excitedness is, that creates a high, a euphoric high, where you're speedy. And then cocaine will also create that same effect. So when the body needs certain things that it's not producing and it becomes out of whack, there is plants that you can perceive and get these doses from and use for the period of prescription that you need. Hang on, I'll be right back. I feed my cat. So as you're taking these, notice, like I said, the prescription, these, you shouldn't have to keep taking these. So look, like the outward of your limbs, you don't use all the limbs for every different activity. The same way you shouldn't be doing this with every different activity. You use when it's needed, halal. To use when it's not needed, haram. That's it. Everything is in the living. Halal, haram, like I say, is in the living. But then you get into the characteristics of what, like this girl had said, and now they want to do things because now they're high, and this is now that they're chasing that instead of the reality of life. Now you're going off in the fantasy world. And you're wanting that fantasy world to be your reality. But if you walk around in reality always doped up in fantasy land, you may fall in a pit. Understand? So I am not against drug use, alcohol. I am against it when people are starting to abuse it and think that it's a social thing now. And it should not be part of the assembly of the people. Drugs should never be a part of the assembly of the people. They will try to say that it's fun to share a joint amongst friends, all of our friends, and this is because that's the assembly, and this is what you want to do is share. Now, when I say drugs should not be done amongst the assembly of the people, is because you are neglecting that 10%. You see, it's really only a 10% of your brain that is producing these crazy effects, and it's the 10% of the brain that we are only aware of how it even is working, right? All these different things, 10%, it's always 10% tithes, 10% of this. So the assembly should always, when you're in the assembly, should always be 10% for God. When you're using drugs amongst the assembly, the gathering, the old people in the ancient world, they used to try to say in your textbooks, imagine if all the textbooks are lies and the ancient world never did this, but they're trying to say it because they found it. They tried to say that the ancient world, they all smoked weed and they praised their gods high on drugs. Right? And this is what they say because of things that they have found, but no one lived there to know. Like, just because you find something around somewhere doesn't mean people were doing it all there. Maybe it was for something else. Maybe they were only sacrificing it or this or that. Who knows? I'm just saying, no one was actually there to understand that concept of reality. And you're basing your brainwave patterns that you're going to draw based upon this is the history, this is what you're taught in school and learned, this is the truth, there is nothing else. See, this is even how people begin to conduct themselves in their lives as well. So this is how easily history and knowledge can be manipulated when you get assemblies doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. It creates rituals of shirk, and cults can form, and religions are in this manner of cults because if you look back upon religion, when they were founding, that look, they were doing killing each other. This whole religion go to war with this whole religion, and this religion go to war with this whole religion. Think about that. This cultism in the brain of joining up into ideas of concepts of what they were translating as the word of God, and this is it. Hang on. So you see, the word of God is always of the living. It's always the word of God is living. It's what gives life. Remember that thing you can't control? Hold your breath. That's the word of God. That thing that gives life, the light, the thing God speaks, God Himself. That is a truth. You can't wrap around that. No matter what drug you use, no matter what you interpretate, or no matter what you try to teach history and this and that, it all can be distinguished in the living because the word is a living thing. Are you with me so far? So, in the manipulation, you can manipulate the way the world is viewing things, and the media does it constantly. Like anytime they want to manipulate, this is a greater damage in this section over here, so they'll zoom the camera in right in here and just show you this type of stuff for a whole month. Even though that was a small percentage of what was going on in other parts. So all of these things, they can camera angle in on it, or they can propaganda, or they can promote it, or they can do this. But in reality, you have to stop and think, is this part of my living life? Or is this what they are promoting for their living profitable lives? Of what they're doing, believing upon, and pondering into their brain. Just like how that girl can say whatever she wants to say, it doesn't make it true. Hold your breath. You see? You don't control anything. None of you do. No one does. At all. You can think of all you want. But when it comes, like I said, what we were discussing mainly is this drug use. And you start to understand, once the door opens up that, it's okay to do, and you get into a certain mind frame of this point of view, and you leave or stray off that which is the very thing that is giving you life, and you start on your own little path. Next thing you know, it's okay that I smoke weed and do drugs. It helps me. I'm not hurting anybody. Oh, by the way, I also think it's okay that I have sex with this guy here. And, oh, no, wait. We got pregnant from it. Oh, well, I don't want the baby. I'm too young. Oh, we made a mistake. Oh, well, how about we just kill the baby? Oh, now you see the many paths now that you have taken off the path that is right to begin with. Because if you had not been following along into that kind of ideology, you let that woman like this one say and other people say, and follow along in these ideologies, you won't be subjected into agreeing with this, and then later being more subjected into thinking it's okay to have premarital sex. Who's teaching this? Oh, well, I'm high and I'm listening to music now that teaches it. Hey, I'm high and I think that the music's right now too, so I'm going to listen to this and I'm going to do it this way. I'm not hurting anybody. Now let's look at this. You're not hurting anybody. Fine, you want to look at what you're doing is not hurting anybody? Yet, what if you're not realizing that what you're doing is an actual illness of your brain thinking? We wouldn't sit around and let someone commit suicide in front of us and cut their wrist in front of us without us trying to be, we're in shock or we want to stop it. We would not let someone, we would think someone that does that stuff is what? Crazy? So we're going to keep letting you drink your life away, keep letting you smoke your life away, keep letting you do whatever medication for the rest of your life. If the medication is not healing you from it, it is not working, obviously. Right? So, in this concept and manner that people think you get on one path, remember, once you step off that path of what you cannot control, and you start agreeing with other things, look how far down the rabbit hole it leads you. Now you want to kill your own baby because you weren't ready for a baby yet. And now you think it's okay. It's my body. I do what I want to do. I'm not hurting anybody. Okay, should we let the people who want to commit suicide then? Just let everybody cut their wrists? Should we let the serial killer run free and let him, how he feels like he needs to kill everybody? Should we just let him go walk around and perform his action that makes him comfortable and feel good about himself? No, man. You see everyone? There is a line. There is a line that God himself has even drawn in. It's called the line of the living and the line of the dead. Behold, I give you curse, I give you blessing. Do this, don't do this. Halal haram is of the living. All things God has made are good in their proper season with their proper measured judgment. Okay? So now we get back in that abortion issue. Now that you want to be so free with yourself, and this is what I find funny about people who are always using that freedom as an excuse. They're not understanding the word freedom and liberty. It's different. And they're not understanding that freedom is something that is a word that is used for choosing. You have choice. So you have freedom, yes, but your choice is not always a good choice. Though you have liberty to do it, if your liberty infringes upon someone else's, you're not free to do it. Therefore, the law comes into play. You can't go around killing people. There's a law. You can't go around doing it. So you see, we have things that we have created. Now, when you're taking these drugs and now your people are trying to outstep the government or outstep the law, they start to find themselves creating or adding things to their law so that they can do and benefit from or this or that, and then they find themselves in a world of chaos because there is no longer any order to their thinking, and their brain pattern has been jumping all around. They're so fucking high. Now look at all of the world. They understand how it all works. Hang on, let me get her chicken. So, just to kind of verify that, and that is how society is, because even if you look at society as being a body of people, the migration of a certain cultural or mind frame of individuals will sway in different directions and move like a wave in a certain direction and shift upon the shifting of the the gray matter of the brain, creating in it the lines of how the societies themselves are using the outward informations or the things they have let legalized or this or that to rule, manipulate, to control their societies of growth and their productivities of what they do and this and that, you see? And when you allow certain negative influences within the assembly itself, see, that's why the assembly is supposed to be pure, 10%. Pure, always for God. Nothing outside should be entering and being amongst the assembly. For you're going to dirty it up. You let one foul thing in, it could lead the whole assembly into a crazy world. So if you're a religious person and you know that the Most High God says that certain acts of sexual nature are not good to do, and it's an abomination, it's sin not to do such deeds, it's not profitable for mankind survival, thou shalt not do it in that manner, then you can clearly see the path that we have gone down when you legalize homosexuality into the assembly. See now, people, what's happening? If you want to go and smoke a joint, go, but not in the assembly. If you want to go be gay, go, but not in the assembly. For the assembly is for God. You see? So you can't, in the assembly, you can't bring your opinion of how you think life should be in the assembly, where you're supposed to be walking in the ordinances, statutes, and laws and lines of God. And that's how should have been living, but we have not. We backslid and got away from that understanding, where we have now allowed foul things to enter into our assembly, and those foul things are now creating ways and paths of legislation for us to do even greater damage to the humanity of ourselves and our world that we live in. And some of these things are now being forced upon you. Think about that, how you have gone from freedom. I like to smoke my weed. I'll make you drive an EV car, motherfucker. I'll make you fucking have wind. I'll make you. But does everybody have their joint? We trying to save the world. Motherfuckers can't even save their own damn selves. Out of their own fucking shirking, out of their own fitna, and out of their own bullshit. You think they're going to be able to save you? That's what I'm trying to explain to everybody. God rules over man. The minute you reject that wisdom, that truth of the living, hold your breath. The minute you reject that, you're anti-Christ. Anti-mother. I don't care what you come in with, religion name, how good you are, whatever. It doesn't matter. So you want to be a Muslim or a Christian, but you think it's okay for people to be gay. Okay, you want to walk around. I don't care. You're not in the proper. Hold your breath. You don't control shit. Your imagination is creating foul things, and now we look around and we see why the human beings of almost 10 billion of us are becoming Cain and Abel in arguing and fighting over something we in life itself have no control over. We are only know that that if we follow in this way, we will be prosperous, we will multiply and bear good fruit, multiply the face of the earth. If we don't do this way, we cease to exist. We will either fight in wars and kill ourselves, we'll become all fruitcakes and no one will procreate, blah, 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 down the fucking line, or we start creating crazy ass nonsense of AI robotic things that you can put your brain, it go beyond your imagination, it's fucked. It'll take you to the pits of hell, if you want to perceive what I'm trying to teach in that manner, of how far you can go down into the fire of your imagination. So here, just remember, halal, haram is of the living, always has been, always will be. Not all things benefit man in its season. All things have a created period for its season of its own self. And if you step outside of that, which is the truth, you're Antichrist Dajjal. Doesn't matter what Dead Man Grave or how goody two-shoes you think you are in your belief or practice, or how much you show love towards outwardness of accepting freedoms and liberties of peoples, and so no, you have left the truth, you have left the throne of God. Now how do we correct those manners in our society that we have created? Because like I say, when you look at the way that we have created them, these are also the way how the brain in the gray matter has developed. Every synapses of the brain has its own trail, its own path. So when you want to move your finger like this, you can move your finger instantly like this because of the synapses that has been created from a constant unknowing about it. Lift your eyebrow. Synapses, you know you're doing it. How you know you're doing it? Because this is the synapses of your brain. Same way how we have created our societies and moved them in different places, we have created these patterns, pathways. Well, how do you fix it? That I will give in another video that will come on how we fix those pathways on the level that I have gone into explaining of how things are with our day-to-day like activity. Like I say, it's not that drugs are bad, and people, if you want to do something of your own accord, go for it, do it, fine, but don't go around teaching as if that's the right way, holy way, God way, or any other way, when God has already told us what it takes to survive and keep surviving forever, right? There's only one way. So outside of that, you know what you are. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum.